Well, I have been married to Hannah for 14 years, and for about 13 years, I have been doing decorations totally wrong. Totally wrong. Every year, Christmas decorating becomes a point of contention in our home. Because every year, Hannah's excited for it, and I just don't have any time. It's so many pieces. I got to crawl into the crawl space. That thing is a death trap. Anyone have a crawl space in their house that's like a death trap? Like you got to rip the carpet out. You got to pull this board apart. You've got to dodge all these spikes wanting to, stab me as I go in. It's the worst. So I always dread it. I'm like, yeah. And by the time we started, Hannah's in a good mood, and I'm just like moping about. So this year, I decided to do it differently. This year, it's early November, and I think I'm going to surprise her. I've got an hour. I can get it out, and I won't give her any notice. No mention, no warning. She's just going to be typing away on her laptop, and then all of a sudden, Christmas is going to be coming out. And that's what I did. I crawled in the crawl space. I started pulling stuff out. I'm like, I didn't know I could even do this on my own. I started pulling things out, got the tree, and she turns around, and immediately, I tell you, we're lucky she wasn't performing open heart surgery, because I don't think there was anything that would have stopped her from joining in on Christmas decorating. She jumped right in. I start slowly getting the tree assembled, because we do the fake trees, and get the tree assembled. I turn around, and the entire house is decked out in under 3 seconds. It's crazy. And so I'm like, I think this is the way to go. I think this worked out. Give no warning, no heads up. Well, a few weeks go by. It's Thanksgiving weekend, and we're in Wisconsin. We get snowed in. You guys remember that Saturday was big snowfall. We're stuck in the house with Hannah's parents and watching TV all weekend and stuff. Her dad is in his home office all day long, typing away, doing whatever. All of a sudden, it's evening time. I look around, and I'm like, Dave is nowhere to be seen. Where is Hannah's dad? And then, sure enough, no warning, no heads up. Here he comes with his Christmas decorations and the trees and everything. He just starts assembling. He gets out the tree slowly. He turns around, and Hannah's mom, just within 3 seconds, the entire house is decked out. Music is playing. What happened? I'm telling you, there is something with some people and Christmas decorations where the laws of physics do not apply anymore. So I don't know what your tradition is, how you might celebrate this time of year, whether you do Christmas decorations. I know some of the plan your visits, some of the people who said they're coming. Some of you guys have never really celebrated Christmas. You celebrate other holidays, but we all have our traditions. And for a lot of us, the tradition has to do with getting a tree. Getting the tree out, putting a tree in your house. We got a new tree. Give it up for the Altmans, bringing this beautiful tree from their house for us. And so we know some things about trees, right? I'm no botanist, but I do have access to Gemini, so I know a few things about trees. What do I know about tree? I know that every single tree starts with a little tiny seed. You guys know too. No, do we have any botanists in this room? Good, because I'm going to be acting like I know what I'm talking about. But you plant a seed, and what is it that transforms this seed into a tree? What transforms it from something that's dead and buried to something that is massive? Maybe if you've ever been to the redwoods, like something that is just out of this world. Well, I'll tell you, I'll tell you, it's not the soil. It's not the soil. It's not the water. The soil sustains it. The water softens it. It's the light. It's the light. Am I right? Is that what you're going to say? The light. Okay, it's the light. It's the light that calls out to the seed and says, live. Calls out to the seed, says, grow. And that seed sprouts up, and it strains toward its source of life, the light. The light can transform a little tiny seed into something massive, towering over, way high that we can't even see the top of. It's the light. It's the light. It's the light. It's the light. Powerful force, creating, bringing life into the world. You see, Don't you want to be light? If anyone were to tell me that you are such a light, I would say, oh, stop. I'd blush a little bit. I'd be happy, of course. Who doesn't want to be light? You know, when God created the world, day one, the first thing he does is he says, let there be light. Oh, you guys read the first page at least. Let there be light. Let there be light. Jesus is called the light of the world. Oh, wow. Oh, I like this crowd. Okay, Jesus is called the light of the world because what the light is to the tree, Jesus is for all of us. Calling out a new reality, calling out life in us and an impact in us. And we all want to be light. We all want to have that kind of impact on other people. The problem is, at least for me, is that so often I overestimate how much light I bring in a situation. Because to me, I'm like, well, I got decorations out, but I did gripe and complain the whole time. I guess that's not as much of a light. So some of you, maybe you're like, I love my family, I provide for my family, and you look back at this year and a big regret is you weren't actually there with your family as much as you wanted to be. Some of you, maybe you're big into recycling and you love the planet and you want to do good for the planet, but then you realize that your car is much worse for the planet than you realized, but you're like, I love my car. Maybe you know that person who wants to be a light on social media, and their version of being a light is getting really, really angry at everybody for the smallest things. You're like, I don't know how much of a light they really are. This week, I heard about a famous billionaire that all of you have heard of that says that what he does with his technology and with his businesses is saving humanity, changing the world, which is kind of cool. But then he's criticized often for how he treats his employees and his workers. And it's like he has this big idea of how much of a light he is, and yet in his day-to-day, it's not showing. And that is not just the problem for billionaires, that's a problem for all of us, isn't it? We have this need to be light. We're in search for light. We are like that tree, and we're straining for that source of life. And man, how nice would it be if we were that source of life? Well, this is the story of Christmas. In Isaiah 60, we're going to just span a little bit of Isaiah 60 here. It says, arise, shine, for your light has come. Right away, the question is, whose light? Whose light? And the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Risen upon who? Nations will come to your light. Oh, that's cool. Kings to the brightness of your rising. But whose light? Who's rising? We've got kings and nations coming to this light, but whose light is it? We go on. Then you will see and be radiant, and your heart will thrill and rejoice. Multitudes of camels will cover you. They will bring gold and frankincense. Okay, this is starting to sound like a good Christmas card, huh? And will bear good news of the praises of the Lord. We still don't know where these people are going to, but apparently there's light somewhere, and there's the nations and the kings and the camels all coming together in one location. We go on. So that men may bring to you the wealth of the nations. There's an abundance here. There's something really good going on. With their kings led in procession. And they will call you, here we go, the city of the Lord, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel. Does anyone know that Zion is another name for what city? Oh, wow, okay, Jerusalem. Yes, Jerusalem. So this is all a poem about one day Jerusalem is going to be so great. This light will be there in Jerusalem. People from all over the world are going to come to Jerusalem. They're going to bring their wealth to Jerusalem. They're going to come on their camels to Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, we're going to see abundance. In Jerusalem, we're going to see peace amongst the nations. In Jerusalem, there's going to be so much celebrating, so much rejoicing. There's going to be, everything is going to be good. And it's going to be where? Jerusalem. The light is going to be in Jerusalem. So this may not be the Christmas story you're used to. This is Isaiah. This is hundreds of years before Jesus. So then Matthew writes an account. So let's go to Matthew chapter 2. This is maybe a more familiar Christmas story to you. In Matthew chapter 2, let me tell you a little bit about some of the characters. We've got the Magi. Sometimes they're called the wise men. I think at least in one of our songs we say, we three kings. Well, they're not called kings in Matthew. They're called kings in Isaiah. So Matthew saw that what was happening with Jesus, which would have been maybe a toddler at this age, was a fulfillment of what Isaiah said hundreds of years ago. But there were Magi. Magi were like these professional astrologers. They were paid by kings to look at the stars and say, this is what the gods want from you, kings. So they looked at the stars and they read that there was this star coming from the east, and they wanted to go follow it. So that's Magi. Then we got King Herod. King Herod was known for a couple things. He was known for his power. He was a very powerful man. He became the king of the Jews, the king of the region of Judea. Judea had the city of Jerusalem, and it had the city of Bethlehem. We're going to talk about both those cities, but Herod was over all of it. He wasn't really a Jew by birth, though. He was raised in Edom, and Judea took over Edom and forced a conversion to Judaism from his family. Okay? So he's Jewish. His family was very wealthy. And he used his wealth to gain political power, make lots of friends. Because who doesn't love a generous, rich friend, right? And so that was Herod. He was powerful. He was paranoid. Very, very paranoid. He killed his kids. He killed his wife because he thought they were forming some sort of coup against him. Not the best of lives. He was also known for his palaces. He was called Herod the Great because he just built and built and built. He built 12 massive structures, many of which are still around today, 2,000 years later. So pretty impressive guy, wealthy guy, powerful guy, paranoid guy. So here's the story. Now, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, this is one of the two cities in Judea, in the days of King Herod, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem. That's the other city. So we got Bethlehem, we got Jerusalem. And which one was Isaiah 60 about? Jerusalem. Remember that. And so they say, where is he who is born King of the Jews? Kind of ironic. They were talking to Herod, who was the king of the Jews, and they say, hey, I heard the king of the Jews was born. How's Herod going to take that? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him. What they're saying is that Isaiah 60, this great poem of incredible light and wealth and abundance and peace, is coming true right now. We got to see where that light is taking us. And here's Herod's reaction in verse 3. Oh, no, not Isaiah 60. Did I get it right? The slides? There we go. Okay, when Herod the king heard this, he was troubled. Not excited, not rejoicing, troubled, which we can kind of understand. But what's really strange is look at this. And all Jerusalem with him. Isaiah 60 is being fulfilled right now in your midst. And who the poem is all about are the ones who are least happy. Jerusalem. What is happening here? Why is it that Jerusalem is troubled? So what does Herod do? He gathers these leaders from Jerusalem together. He inquires of them. He says, where is this Messiah going to be born? And then they go on. They tell him in verse 5, they say, in Bethlehem of Judea, for this is what was written by the prophet. Now they quote another Old Testament text we read out of Isaiah. This is out of Micah. And you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the leaders of Judah. For out of you shall come forth a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. So we got two cities. We got Jerusalem and we got Bethlehem. Jerusalem is Isaiah 60, where we see this light. Bethlehem is where we're seeing this ruler coming from. And so we go on in the story. Then Herod secretly called the Magi and determined from them the exact time the star appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem. He said, go, search for the child. When you find him, tell me, because I want to go worship him. Is he being honest? No. Good. You guys are following. After hearing the king, they went their way, and the star that they had seen in the east went on before them until it came and it stood over Jerusalem? No. The kid who's in Bethlehem. So Isaiah 60 is being fulfilled in their midst, but is not being fulfilled the way we thought it would be fulfilled. And then finally, we'll go to the next one here. When they saw the star, they rejoiced, of course, because this is Isaiah 60. They rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. After coming into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother. They fell to the ground. They worshiped him. Then they opened up treasures. They presented gifts to him, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned by God in a dream not to return to Herod, stay away from that guy, the Magi left for their own country by another way. So, dodged a bullet there, huh? They would have been in trouble if they went back to Herod. They don't. So, here we have a strange story about astrologers following a star, going up to a paranoid king, being lied by the king, going up to a kid, worshiping the kid, offering gold to a kid, and then in a dream, they're dodged and they're saved. And we say, Merry Christmas, how awesome is that? What in the world is happening here? What is going on? Why did Matthew decide to include this story here? What is Matthew trying to tell us? Well, we can already see that he sees Isaiah 60 being fulfilled in their midst. But Isaiah 60 and Matthew 2 have one glaring difference, and that is the light is not in the city of where? Jerusalem. In fact, Jerusalem is a place that is against the plans of God. The place that they thought they would find light turns out to be the villain in the story. The nations and the world is in search for light, and it wasn't where they thought it would be. And it makes me think of how many times I thought there would be light in the church. And it makes me think of all the lives that have been devastated and hurt because they thought they would find light amongst the people of God, but instead they found power moves, political games, deception. People are looking for light. Where are they going to find it? Well, it wasn't in Jerusalem. It was with this little kid in a small town in Bethlehem. See, what Matthew is painting a picture of is Matthew is saying that the promise of Jerusalem being this light is coming true, but it's not going to be with Jerusalem. It's going to be with Jesus. Jesus is a new Jerusalem. But get what else Matthew does. He's brilliant. His writing is so sophisticated and it's so sharp. Man, you know, you'll blink and you miss it, but if you look deeply, you're going to see he's not just saying Jesus is the new Jerusalem. He's saying Jesus is the new David, which to a lot of us, 2,000 years later, we are like, who cares about David? But back then, if you were an original reader, you're like, I can't wait for the new David, not this David, no, the King David, who was 1,000 years before Jesus. King David, who represented what God was doing in the world, who represented the kingdom of God. What will happen if one leader were to worship God and serve him and everyone around him were to be blessed? We need someone like that. David was that person for about a minute, and then he wasn't. And they said, we need someone like David. And so this quote that all the religious leaders, they quote out of Micah, for out of you shall come forth a ruler, talking about Bethlehem. Well, that's a quote from Micah, but then what Matthew does is he's playing with it. He's messing with us because he doesn't just quote Micah, he quotes 2 Samuel. This whole line, shepherd my people Israel, doesn't show up in Micah. It shows up in Samuel. Well, what's going on in Samuel? Well, in Samuel, in this very chapter is where David becomes king. Here's what Matthew's doing. He's saying, you know you have all this hopes and dreams of what's going to happen when we get a new king like David. And we want this king. And Jesus isn't just a king like David. He totally replaces David. All your hopes that you had in Jerusalem, that this is going to be our shining light, and all our hope for Jerusalem is being fulfilled in Jesus. All our hope for a king is being fulfilled in Jesus. All our hope for a temple, a place where we can actually meet with God, is being fulfilled in Jesus. He's real sly with this one. He's really, really sly. We know that Matthew has Isaiah 60 on the mind. In Isaiah 60, the nations come, and what do they bring? They bring gold, and they bring... No, they don't. No, they don't. Isaiah 60, read it again. They bring gold and frankincense. In Matthew, he adds a third one. So where do you see gold, frankincense, and myrrh? You don't see it in Isaiah 60. You see it with the tabernacle. You see it with the temple. Gold, frankincense. What Matthew is doing in this really sophisticated way is saying that Jesus, all the hope from Jerusalem is found in Jesus. All the hope of a king is found in Jesus. All the hope of a temple where we can meet with God is found in Jesus. In this strange story of astrologers following a star, what we see is that Jesus is what our hearts have been longing for. That light is found in Jesus. And we could say, praise God, awesome. Let's go on with our day, get a little warm feeling inside, move on. Let's eat some cookies. Let's have some hot chocolate. Except the story doesn't end there. Jesus grows up, and Jesus knows who he is. Jesus' concern was that you will know who you are. And so if Jesus is the light, do you know that in Matthew 5, he calls out to the crowd, and he says, you are the light of the world. He says, a city set on a hill. Do you know what a city on a hill is? That's Jerusalem. Jerusalem was called a city on a hill. He says, don't just look to me to be Jerusalem. He says, you're Jerusalem. You're the place where the nations come together, where we see peace and abundance and rejoicing. That's you. That's you. If you follow Jesus, that means it's not just the light to you, but it's the light through you. He says, I'm not just Jerusalem, you're Jerusalem. You don't have to fly out to Jerusalem. You build Jerusalem right where you are. He says, I'm not just the temple. In Matthew 18, he says, where 2 or 3 are more gathered in my name, and we've got a few more than 2 or 3 in this room alone, there I am in the midst of you. He says, you think I'm the temple? No, you're the temple. You think I'm where the presence of God is? He says, no, you're where the presence of God is. He says, you look at me as king, and he says, yes, you're right. And in Matthew 28, he says, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. He says, go therefore. Notice what he says. He says, all authority has been given to me. He says, go therefore. He says, my identity is wrapped up in your identity. Who you are and what your mission in life and what you're called to do is so wrapped into the person of Jesus. He says, if I'm the king, then you are my representatives. You go with my name. Do you see? It's not just a warm and fuzzy. It radically transforms how we should see ourselves as the light, as the place where God's blessing goes out, as the place where people can experience God's presence, as a place that advances the work of the King. This is our responsibility, if you so choose. We don't go out and find ourselves. We go out and we find Christ, and he turns us into the light. We don't go to Jerusalem, we are Jerusalem. We don't enter the temple, the Spirit of God enters us. We don't hope and wish for a political leader who's going to finally do what he says. No, because we follow a true and faithful and wise king who has appointed us as his delegates. We have a responsibility. The Christmas story is not just nice and warm and fuzzy. The Christmas story is a calling for your life. And it's a big question is, are people going to find light where they go? If they go to you looking for light, are they going to find it? They're going to find it. Let's pray.